literature review should be the easiest thing in the world, but why is it so hard? And why is it keeping you from graduation? That is what we're going to be talking about in today's video. And if that's of interest to you, keep on watching. I have worked with thousands of students on their literature review. It is the place where most programs tell you to begin. But if you are someone who has been working in a literature review, then you know just how overwhelming, just how confused you are, and just how much you are about to quit your doctoral program. But before you quit, like, hear me out for a minute. Let me explain to you the 5 reasons why it is so challenging to write the literature review, and it might not be why you think. Number 1, the obvious, you are tired. It's me and you right now, you're tired because there was so much that you had to overcome and get through just to make it to this point, just to make it to the dissertation. Like, people don't talk about how much of a grind it could be going through coursework, going through exams. Maybe you had to like figure out all the like paperwork associated with a doctoral program and then all the extras and the side quests like research teams and publishing and conferences. It is a lot. So probably by the time you get to writing your proposal and getting to the literature review, you probably have run out of steam and you keep telling yourself, I just have to push through because I can see the finish line right there. You are tired, and that is understandable. I just wanted to start this off there to say, yeah, it makes sense. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not a bad student. You're just tired because you're a human doing something that is incredibly challenging, because there's a reason why only 40% of doc students even make it to this point. Number 2, your topic is not as clear as you think. Now, this is the part where I really work with students. You may have an idea of the topic. What I find is that most students are still very broad. And you may have tried to talk to your chair, you may have tried to talk to other students or faculty about it, and the feedback or the questions that they ask you in attempts to help you narrow it down feels like they're completely changing your topic. It feels like they're not understanding what you're saying. What is really happening is they're trying to get you to something that is more appropriate for the scope of the dissertation. You most likely are focusing on the people or the population or the big problem, but not necessarily the small problem. Let me give you an example. So I am working with someone, her large topic, if you will, is about type 2 diabetes in the African American community. And she is interested in how do we provide better educational materials and interventions to increase knowledge and awareness, thus helping people to better manage and eliminate their type 2 diabetes. But type 2 diabetes and education is still very broad. I know it sounds very like clear, but it's very broad. And here's what you can do to narrow your topic down, because this is what I told her to do. You want to think about what is currently wrong with how we are educating African Americans. What is currently wrong with the interventions that already exist, right? Because think about this. You're not the first person to think of your topic. You're not the first person to research this topic, but you do have a unique perspective, and that is what we are looking for. You may not have much practice thinking about your unique perspective, because the way coursework is set up is that for all intents and purposes, it's about regurgitating information that other people said, but the dissertation is your first real opportunity where you get to tell us, what do you think, doctor? Because yes, you're a doctor, we're just waiting on paperwork, but you already have all of the knowledge and you know how to access anything that you don't know. But what you may not be realizing is you have to tell us in the beginning what your unique perspective is. So what about your topic? What is currently happening? What do people say are the best practices? And why do you personally believe that they are not efficient, good enough, or worth our time? Like, why are you doing this study is another way to say that. Like, why does it matter? Why it matters is because you have a unique perspective. So for instance, if I go back to the example with my client, her perspective is, yes, we do have educational materials, but there is distrust within the African American community as a whole in terms of resources in that way, or coming from what they might perceive as like big government. Number 2, the suggestions or the resources around how to manage type 2 diabetes doesn't always take into account the cultural differences. And someone wants to know, how do I take what I already eat and make it work to help me manage my type 2 diabetes? Because usually like the recipes that are provided, people are like, I am not eating that. But if we can find more culturally appropriate ways to combine like recipes and education, it may help people better manage or eliminate their type 2 diabetes. So I hope that that is giving you a little bit more context context as we start to get into your unique perspective, it starts to narrow the topic. Which then brings me to point number 3. Because you don't have a clear perspective, you don't have a clear argument. Many students don't realize, and maybe you don't know, that your proposal essentially is a persuasive argument. Your job is to persuade the reader as to why your study needs to happen. When you tell us, here's the big problem, here's what's been going on, and here's all the ways that it's still not quite solved, or it's not quite hitting the mark in some way, and this is what I'm going to do about it, and this is why I'm taking this approach. That is the whole outline of a dissertation proposal. We need, as the reader, need to be able to answer those questions very clearly and very easily. What is the problem? Why does it matter? What's being done about it? Why are those things not helpful? And what are you going to do differently? If you can answer those 5 questions, you will have a clear and persuasive argument that you can back up with literature and theory and any other existing research. Which then brings me to number 4. You're using all of your good energy and your good time reading. Now, reading isn't a bad part. We need to read in order to write a literature review. When I say you're using your good time, I'm saying you're using your most potent energy. You're using the most motivation to do something that you could do at any time, which is read and take notes. What you want to use that energy for is writing and clarifying your ideas. Writing a literature review is not about how much can I dump inside of it. No, writing a literature review, a good one, means that you have set the time aside to think clearly, okay, what is my main argument? What is the best way to present it? And how can I describe and demonstrate those ideas so clearly that a 10-year-old could understand it? Think about that. I love to think about if I was going to tell my grandmother, my 89-year-old grandmother, about this, how would I say it? It's not that she's not smart, because she is brilliant. It's just she's not an academic. So if I was not going to use all the academic jargon, how would I explain this to her? And that is how I write, because it is more important that your ideas are clear than it is that you sound smart. And if you are someone who has written multiple drafts or multiple sections and you've submitted it for feedback and you receive, oh, this looks good, keep going, can't wait to see the full thing, it's most likely that you are not being very clear in how you're writing. It probably means that you're trying to combine a lot of things in a short period of time, and you're leaving your reader confused and overwhelmed. And you may be mistakenly thinking that you're supposed to write your literature review to your committee. No, you're writing your literature review to a reader who has the problem that you are exploring, but is not aware of what the literature has to say, or is looking for a different solution. And so you need to be able to communicate to someone who may not have the same background or context in terms of research and literature, but they could pick up your work and fully understand it and be on board with you about, oh, this is why this study has to happen, because we need this information. Make sense? And then number 5, let's have a reel for real, because if you made it this far in this video, we locked in. Number 5 is you already know what to say. You know how to clarify your ideas through editing, right? You know how to manage your energy and get very clear on your topic, but for some reason, you still feel like an imposter. You still feel like someone who is not qualified or deserving or worthy to do your topic. And friend, no amount of reading, no amount of sitting in front of your laptop is going to make you feel more confident to do this work. And here's what I want you to know. Because you made it this far in your process, because you are approved to do your dissertation, that is all the proof we need that you are someone who knows enough and is experienced enough to do this topic. The more I find that people feel like an imposter, it's because you know so much now, and you know, but I don't know about this, and I don't know about this, and what if I say this wrong? If you can say things like that, that means, nope, you're ready. Because I want you to think about, and maybe it may be helpful for you to go talk to like a first-year doc student or talk to someone outside of academia and ask them, what do they know about your topic? And I bet you it's going to be very surface level. It is not going to be as detailed as you are. An example I like to use is, what if I asked you, who's the better artist, Beyonce or Taylor Swift? How would you answer that? If you are someone who you're not really into music, you may know like a top song or two, you might be like, Beyonce's better because she's been doing it for a long time and I like how pretty she looks, right? That's a very surface answer. I promise you this is going somewhere. Where if you ask someone who's more intermediate, which one is better, Beyonce or Taylor Swift, they might be like, Beyonce because she has has the most Grammys of any artist. She is not only involved in the singing, the performing of the music, but she writes the music, she composes the music, she produces the music. She's involved in every aspect of the process. If you ask someone who's more advanced, which one is better, they might be like, well, Beyonce, of course, because I love the way her musical stacks are in the background. I love the way that she arranges different genres of music, right? They make it very technical. I hope in this random example that you are understanding what I'm saying. You are someone who's at the advanced level because you are talking about the tiny details that most people don't even know about. Most people are at level 1, level 2 at best, which is like intermediate. Most people are like, they look really pretty. It's a catchy tune, right? Your committee, believe it or not, is more at the level of, no, like the arrangements. I like the songwriting. I like the different harmonies of genres of music. And you are mistakenly thinking they're at the advanced level where they're talking about the stacks and getting into the weeds of the arrangements. An intermediate person may be able to understand a more advanced person once it's explained and provided with some examples, but they don't just have that knowledge. I want you to think about your committee is at the intermediate level and you are at the advanced level. The reason why they are on your committee is because they understand the research process. They don't have to have knowledge around your topic. It's very helpful, but they don't have to. They understand research. They understand what makes a good, solid research design. And so they have been tasked, because you've selected them, to help you with your research design. The weeds, the very advanced knowledge that you have, it is your job to explain it not only to your committee, but to the beginner in such a clear way that they can understand. And that is what your dissertation and your literature review is going to do. So I hope that example helps a little bit. I'm not trying to, start a tussle about the Beyonce and Taylor Swift. I just need an example to illustrate my point. But you need practice seeing yourself as the advanced version you already are. And the best way to do that is to write your literature review, make it very shitty, make it exist first, and send it to people and get feedback. Because as they ask you questions, as they ask like, I'm confused here, or what does this mean? It will help you to fully articulate your point in your argument. Your committee or whomever you are sending your work to for feedback, their questions isn't to make you prove that you know enough. Their questions are genuinely 9 times out of 10 because they don't know and they're looking for you to fill in the blanks for them. So those are the 5 reasons that I find that doc students have a hard time writing their literature review. Let me know which one stands out to you the most.